Hello everyone and welcome to another Singerreise video podcast. My name is Jonathan Silvia and I'm your host. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to take a look at and watch the third piece in the Winterreise cycle. Its title is Gefrorne Tränen, which means frozen tears. Those two words don't appear next to each other in the text, but they do kind of sum up what is going on. So we'll take a look at those two words as we looked at the text in the previous two videos, and I'll try and keep my comments short since this is, after all, a short piece. So let's take a look at the text by starting with the first word of the title, Gefrorne, which also happens to be the first word of the text itself. Gefrorne, again, means frozen. But in this piece, it seems that we have frozen and scalding hot and, well, everything in between. So again, we'll start with the Gefrorne Tränen, the frozen drops that are falling from the wanderer's face. But it starts to bother him that these drops are only barely warm and that they freeze so easily, just like the cool morning dew. By then, we're already into the last stanza, where we take a temperature reading of his heart, which is burning hot, as if it wanted to melt all of the winter's ice. To me, it seems like the piano part is primarily responsible for giving us the temperature reading of the environment at any given point. Most of the song is pretty sparse in the piano part. There's a lot of broken chords that only have enough notes in them for us to know what the tonality is at any given point. In the intro, Schubert uses this lonely fifth that he places up on the second beat with an accent and nothing underneath it. To me, that seems like we're so cold and so frozen that we're having a hard time getting any forward momentum going. As soon as we get a little bit warmer, for example with the heat in his chest, the piano part starts to get a lot more lush. The chords are filled out, and the piano will even double the vocal melody at times, and sometimes even harmonize with it. So we have both the sparse and the heated sections. The second word of the title is Tränen, which means tears. But here again, we have all of the various incarnations that water can take. Again, we start with the frozen tears on the wanderer's face. But it's not long before they are barely warm, then frozen again. Then we get the full torrential flood that's coming from his heart. So here again, the piano part is the one that creates the state of the water in this case. At the beginning, we have many staccatos and accents, kind of a halting maneuver. To me, that sounds like the teardrops falling from the wanderer's face. And you can almost hear them hit the ground with a bit of a plunk. They don't go splash in this case because, of course, they're frozen. As soon as the temperature warms up, though, and we start getting the flood of emotions that's coming from his heart, the piano part gets very, very legato. But as soon as we get to the final words of the song, des ganzen Winters Eis, all of a sudden the piano part goes back to the intro again, where it's staccato and the teardrops are falling again. There's another little feature in the text that I found particularly interesting. As with other songs, Schubert repeats the last couple lines of text, but here he makes a little word swap that I think is a little bit significant. The last line reads, "Und trinkt doch aus der Quelle der Brust," which basically means, and forces its way out from the wellspring of the heart. Side note here, I had to use both my language dictionary and the online translator just to get a good sense of what drinkt meant. And if you want more information about that, see a previous video. Anyway, the second time the line comes out is "Ihr trinkt doch aus der Quelle der Brust," which means you force your way out from the wellspring of the heart. So there's a little word swap there, and to me that means that the second time we encounter the text is a little bit more accusatory than the first time. It could be just some of the necessities of grammar, but I like to think of it as Schubert's personalization and Schubert's customization of the text, and something worth paying attention to. Our last observation for this piece comes from my wife, who points out that in the early Romantic culture, shedding tears was actually a much bigger deal than it is in today's culture. It was a sentimental time, and shedding tears was something that both men and women almost bragged about. There are numerous journals and letters written about men talking about how they shed tears of joy and of love and unrequited love and so on. In fact, if you were not able to shed tears, that meant that you couldn't express yourself and that you weren't sensitive enough. When we take the text and put it into that historical context, it tells us a little bit more about how we want to perform the piece. For me, it seems that it's not the existence or the quantity of tears that is bothering the wanderer. Rather, it's that the tears are so cold that that's the part that bothers him, especially given the warmth and the burning feeling that is inside of him. So when we perform the piece, we want to stay away from a sobbing sort of voice and go more for a confused voice followed by an angry or impassioned voice. There's of course a lot of Winterreise later where we're going to get into how cold it is and how he's feeling cold, perhaps even on the inside. So we'll leave that for a little bit later. But for this piece, let's have it get a little bit more impassioned and a little bit more fiery. And that's all that I had to say about Gefrorne Tränen. If you want to find out more about Winterreise or about the life of a working opera singer, check out the Singerreise YouTube channel, where you'll find more videos about Winterreise and a number of subjects. Make sure to hit the subscribe button when you visit. You can also take a look at our Facebook page or the Singerreise.com official website. Again, stop by, say hello, leave some comments and some recommendations. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoy this performance.
Tränen, meine Tränen.